Welcome back to another video, and today I want to talk about control and why you want to control maybe not everything, but perhaps a lot of things when it comes to your partner or perhaps even to a person that you are attracted to, and you try to control a certain outcome. And before I dive into that, whatever I'm saying, please never take anything as blame or never feel ashamed about anything. I'm doing these videos purely to raise awareness and for you to choose better for yourself, to choose a different reaction next time you catch yourself being in control. The aim of this video is that I would like you to understand what's actually underneath control. So I'm going to give you a couple of examples because control doesn't always look like controlling. It can look as overthinking, perfect example what I spoke about in my last video. It can also look like needing reassurance. For example, if you feel insecure about something, you might look for reassurance from your partner, or you might look for reassurance. Perfect example perhaps is social media. Like you post something and you are waiting for validation from a specific person. Another example is that you might be trying to predict everything, or maybe you are wanting to have clarity immediately. Perfect example for this is when you have an argument or something feels off and you need to be in control to get back into harmony so you feel safe again. And another perfect example of control is that you are struggling to let go. So you are trying to control a specific outcome so you feel okay continuing living your life. And there are different reasons why people are trying to control. I'm going to go into my own personal reason in a minute to give you a couple of examples what I have done in the past to control a specific outcome and what my personal control was connected to. But again, I'm going to give you a couple of examples and you will be able to figure out why you are controlling and what it is actually connected to. So when you are controlling, it can come from a fear of uncertainty. It can also come from a fear of being rejected. And another very common fear, especially amongst women, is the fear of abandonment. Control can also come from lack of self-trust. Here we are again. So I'm going to give you a couple of examples now, especially also things that I have done. And again, it's something that I'm not proud of, but I've learned from that, and that is what matters. And if you find yourself in this position now and you watch this video, I don't want you to feel ashamed. I don't want you to feel judged. I want you to take this in and reflect on that and see if you want to continue living like this and doing these things, or if you actually want to choose differently for yourself in order to find peace, because peace doesn't come from control. And again, I'm going to go into relationship patterns because they are a really good example to mirror back to where you stand and what your patterns are. So again, if you find yourself in one of those examples, then please don't feel judged, don't feel ashamed. This is something that I've gone through and I'm not proud of it, but at the same time, it's also human and it's natural. And if we haven't learned better in the past, then I guess it's a good thing that we can learn to become more aware and to choose differently in the future. So one of the things that I had done in the past was to check constantly. Different things that can look like checking his phone, going through his phone and checking his messages. I have done it. I'm not proud of it and I wouldn't ever do this again. This is something that is not a nice experience, not because he did something, but because you don't trust him. And it's not, if you hear this now for the first time, it's not that you don't trust him, but it's that you don't trust yourself. I had done a different video on just self-trust as well and what it actually means. So you can go back to that as well if that helps. Even for example, he said he will go out tonight with his boys, right? Or with his friends, which is perfectly fine. But what I did in the past was to pre-check of how long he will be going out for. When are you coming back home? Like 2 hours, 3 hours? How can he know, right? It's not something that you can pre-check because maybe he's having a really good time and he wants to stay out a bit longer. So you can't then go back later to him and say, but you said you're coming home after 2 hours. It's something that where I wanted to control when he's going to come back home, so I feel reassured. Also, another example where you can find yourself in control is if you need immediate responses by either your friends or in a relationship, in any type of relationship, could be anything. If you need an immediate response, it's a type of control. And it's something that you can ask yourself why this is the case. Another example is trying to fix the relationship. Also something that I have done in the past. I wanted to be sure that the relationship is going to stay stable. So I feel secure within myself. I needed that certainty from this relationship. Another example is that you could find yourself over-explain yourself. Again, also something that I've done a lot of times because I felt like he didn't really understand what I meant. So I kept over-explaining myself. But this is a form of control. And with all of this, what I had done, the aim was basically to control the outcome emotionally. So I could feel settled within myself and I could feel safe and secure. So it's something to think about and reflect on and see if you do any of these things. Because, peace doesn't come from controlling everything around you, but it comes from learning to regulate yourself or your nervous system, even when uncertainty exists. And this is so important to understand because in that way, once you realize this, perhaps you are more willing or more open-minded to choose differently for yourself, to choose a different reaction next time. And I want to tell you an example from my own experience in the past. I will never forget this experience because it was a turning point in my life where I let go of control and I chose a different reaction. However, I also want to say it was one of the hardest things I had done because it was so emotionally draining that I couldn't stand it anymore. And I kind of like my internal world forced me to choose a different reaction. And once I did that, everything changed. Everything. I learned to trust myself. I learned to let go of control. I learned to stop overthinking. I give you this example. So I was in a relationship and we had a huge fight. I don't even know anymore what it was about. All he wanted to do, he wanted to leave. He wanted to leave and just get out of the house. And in that moment, I freaked out even more because for me, I needed to talk about it immediately. I needed reassurance that everything is going to be okay. And all I wanted was to talk right now And I wanted to make sure that we are okay, that our relationship is okay, and that we don't have an argument. In that moment, he was also so strongly, how do I say, like committed to leaving, not leaving the relationship, but leaving the house and needing his space, that there was nothing I could do to stop him. Like I could have stopped him maybe for 5 minutes or something, but would he be willing to talk and communicate? No. I just give you this example because it happens to a lot of men and women, like men that are avoidantly attached. They need their space. They want to, let's say, not, yeah, run away is probably the right expression, because they do need their space. They want to leave. They want to take some time for themselves, which is fine. However, if you are a woman who is anxiously attached, then you would want to talk this out right now. So if this is you, I want you to remember this scenario. And as I say, it's something not easy to do. But if you are aware of this scenario, then just, I want you to take some time for yourself. Let him go. He will come back. Oh, he will come back. He just have this in your mind. He just needs some space right now, and you can sort it out later. You don't need to talk this out right now to feel secure. What you can do in this moment, and what I had done in that moment, I let him go and I took some time for myself. And I was like, okay, now, and trust me, it's not easy. If you are in that moment, it is the most difficult thing, because you can either go left and chase him and trying to find reassurance in the moment, or you can go right and regulate yourself in the moment and try to get yourself to a different point and to a more regulated version of yourself. And this is really, really critical and crucial if you want to be in a more healthy relationship. In that moment, I've done this. And all my whole system wanted to do was to chase him and to get clarity right here and right now. Long story short, I did regulate myself. There are different things, like you can go outside in nature, or you can pray, you can do breath work, you can meditate, whatever. There are many different things to regulate your nervous system. I want you to also ask yourself, if you find yourself in this situation, it's this feeling inside you, why you feel anxious, or why you need certainty and clarity about your relationship right now, or whatever it is. I want you to ask yourself, what is the worst thing that could happen right now? And in my case, that was that he could or would perhaps cheat on me. And I want to be very clear here, this had nothing to do with my partner at the time. It had everything to do with my past experience. And this was not my fear. My fear was not, of course it was in that moment, I would be like, I don't want him to cheat on me. And I was fearful of him doing so. But the core fear, if you really dig and you check deep down, what is actually the fear? It's, for me, in my case, it was the fear of being left alone. And that would mean if he cheated, of course, I wouldn't stay with someone that cheats on me. So that would mean I would be left alone. And that was my core fear. And this is why I kept controlling, because at the end of the day, if he would cheat on me, so again, I asked myself this as well, what is actually the worst case scenario that would happen if he cheated on me? And in that case, I was having this circle like, okay, he would cheat on me, then we would have a discussion, we would have probably an argument, and at the end of the day, I would be left alone. And then, what's happening then? Is that really the worst that can happen? I'm alone now, not because he cheated on me, but because this is what I chose for myself. And it's it's pretty good right now. So it's really like learning for yourself to trust yourself. Oftentimes, the worst case scenario is most of the times worse in your mind than it actually is in reality. And I also want you to know that we all have a part inside us that wants to control to a certain degree. And I guess that's just human, and that's just, yeah, natural, I would say. And I want you to know also that letting go of control doesn't mean that you have to become completely passive. It more means the difference between healthy action and fear-driven control. So what I would say is that even if you are, especially now, if you're in a relationship and you've kept um, repeating this pattern without even realizing it, I would like for you to challenge yourself and perhaps speak to your partner how you actually feel. And perhaps, you can also, if you realize this for yourself that this is not healthy, then try and work yourself through this. You can do that with your partner. You don't have to be perfect. No one is perfect. I wasn't perfect. I chose to work on this by myself at the time. And I'm glad I did, because otherwise I would keep repeat the cycle. And so would you. This is why I want to encourage you to work on this now, whilst you are in a relationship, because relationships are our biggest teacher. Especially because you are in a relationship and you are with your partner, you should feel safe enough to say anything that is on your mind or on your heart, right? And if you can do that, though, from a calm place and from a regulated place, then things can turn out in a complete different way. And you can, work together on that. And that builds trust as well for each other. I'm going to close with this because it always comes back to self-trust and alignment. And this is something that I would like to teach you. It's not something that you can learn by paper, because you really have to integrate this into your system and be willing to. But one of the things that has really helped me is asking myself, what is the worst case scenario? And then really follow up by this picture that is the worst case scenario, and ask yourself, is it really so bad? And it's probably not as bad as you picture it in your mind, because there's a solution for everything. And once you have this picture in your mind, it doesn't mean it has to come that way. Oftentimes it never really ends up with our worst case imagination, right? But once you picture it, at least just theoretically, you are more likely to trust yourself. In that way, you need less force of control. You need less force of clarity or certainty, and you are automatically more relaxed. And this will change the dynamic in whatever you find yourself in. And this will help you as well letting go of control. That's all I wanted to say. And as always, if this has helped you, if something stood out to you, or if you want to share a certain experience with myself, you have any questions, feel free to message me either via my email, my@mspire.co.uk, or via Instagram. My Instagram handle is my.mspire. I hope you have a great start to the new week, and I will speak to you soon. Take care.